Don't go to Crybaby Bridge. This may be one of the scariest stories I've ever told. I grew up in a town not far from this bridge, and the story goes a little something like this. Late one night, it was raining. This was back in the 1930s. A woman was driving a school bus full of children to school. They were driving over the bridge when another car came out of nowhere. It hit the bus and there were no survivors. But that's not even the scariest part. Legend has it, if you go to Crybaby Bridge, bring flour and cover your car with it, and you put your car in neutral while you're going up the bridge, up the hill, the car will roll up the hill. And when you get out, you will be able to check on the back of your car. It will be covered with children's handprints. One year, me and my friends decided to go check out Crybaby Bridge for ourselves in Moore, Oklahoma. Now, every state has a Crybaby Bridge with a little bit different of a legend. The one in Oklahoma specifically is across from a witch's house. Now, not only did my friends want to find Crybaby Bridge, they also wanted to go to the witch's house. Like for part 2, do not go to Crybaby Bridge. If you've never heard of Crybaby Bridge, go back and watch part 1. This is the story of me and my friends from Crybaby Bridge. It was late one night and we had gone with my friend and the guy she liked, and a few other people. Now, if you live in a small town, you know scary places can be a date spot. At first, when we got there, everything was very normal. We found the bridge, it was old. Now, my friend, let's call her Miranda. Miranda had one goal that night, and it was to kiss her crush. She thought the best course of action was for her to run off in the woods by herself alone. After she ran off into the woods, he ran off to follow her. I promise this story does get scary. Now, the rest of us were just hanging out when all of a sudden we heard a scream. One of the guys had tried to cross Crybaby Bridge to get to the witch's house, and under Crybaby Bridge there was no water, just rocks. He had fallen and gotten really hurt underneath the bridge. We had to take him to the hospital, but nobody could find Miranda or her crush. That's when I went off looking. I started to hear a weird noise. I couldn't quite put my finger on what the noise was, but it seemed to be following me. I started calling out for Miranda. Please come out, Miranda. It's an emergency. Soon she came out of the woods and onto the street I was on. But she wasn't with her crush. Her crush had not found her. As we started to walk back, Miranda heard the noise as well. We still didn't know what it was. When we got back to our friends, her crush was there, safe and sound. But we needed to get to the hospital because the guy was bleeding out of his head. And it wasn't until we were about halfway out of the woods when someone asked if anyone else had heard that weird sound. And that is when it hit us. The weird sound was a baby crying.